going to need some Egyptian hieroglyphics, and I found a font on Creative Fabrica. So I'll go ahead and download that and install it on my computer. So I'm in Cricut Design Space now, and I just want to make a guide to represent the area that I can put my decals in, because we're going to cut some vinyl decals. So I'm just going to roughly put the size that I measured of my oval tray, and I'll turn that to the guide. Now I need to add some text, and I've already uploaded the font onto my computer, so I'm going to System, and it's an Egyptian hieroglyphic, so I'll start typing Egyptian. There we go. I want to use the more open version, so I'll select that. So I'm typing the letters that I want for my name, the name I'm going to use. I'm using the U instead of the W. The chick is usually representative of W. Now I need to flip it, because we're going to stick it to the mold, and this will ensure that it will be the right way. Now I want to get rid of some of the little tiny bits, but as you can see, contour doesn't work. So here's a hack. I'll bring on a square, and I'm just going to change the color so that we can see the difference, and I'll send it behind the chick. Now I can move the chick over the top. Now I'm going to select both of them, and I'll slice and get rid of the square, get rid of the top chick. Now if I click on this chick, you can see I can contour it. So now I can get rid of these little tiny pieces that I don't want to cut. And then I'm happy with it. Click X, and that's finished. Now I'll show you again with the next one, because I know the feather has a few bits in it that I don't want. So I bring on my text. I'm going to resize it just by dragging it to roughly the same size as the chick. I'm flipping it. Again, I can't contour, that's not highlighted, so I'll bring on a square, and I will change the color, send it behind the feather, just maneuver it so that they're both completely on, highlight them both, slice, get rid of the first feather and the square, and then if I click that, I can contour now. So I'll contour the bits out that I need, or don't need, I should say, and when I'm happy, I'll click OK. I've just moved the chick over, because you not only need to reverse each letter, but you need to reverse the order that the letters come in. So this is the N. I'm typing the name Wendy. I'm not going to bother to flip that. It's the same either way around, so it doesn't matter. So now I'll move to N. Oh, sorry, D. And this I will reverse. So I'll flip it. Then it's just the Y. Okay, so the Y comes on as 2 feathers. Now I've already sorted one feather out, so there will be no point me slicing and contouring these. I might as well just duplicate this feather, and I can position it over the top. And if I duplicate that again, I'll bring that one. So now I can select both of the red feathers and maneuver them into position. They're already flipped, so I don't need to do that. Now I'll select everything, I'll make sure it's all the same color, and then I will click attach. Just check that it fits within my area. It's fine. And that's our decals done. Okay, so I'm just going to cut some vinyl. It's just a permanent black vinyl. Any scraps that you have will probably be enough. I'm slicing it in half because I need 2 pieces. I'm going to stick one piece on top of the other and double it up, as I want a slightly thicker vinyl. So I'm just making sure that they line up. And the easiest way for me to do this is stick this down onto my mat. So the piece that I'm putting on the bottom still has its backing paper on. I'm just going to smooth it down. Okay, and then this piece, I'm just going to take the backing paper off and I'm going to stick it on top of the vinyl that I already have on my mat. I'll just fold back the top, try and line it up. I want to try and get it down without too many bumps or wrinkles in it. You do want to make sure that there aren't any bubbles, because that could lift when your Cricut is cutting. I'll smooth it down, make sure it's stuck really well, and then we're going to put that through our cutter. Now, because it's doubled up, the premium is thicker than the normal premium vinyl setting that you would use because there's 2 layers. So I'm going to duplicate this image, and then I'll select both of the images, and then I want to go to align, and I'm going to center. So now they are one on top of each other, and I'm going to attach both of the copies. Then you can just go ahead as normal and cut using the premium setting, and it will cut twice, which should cut all the way through. So I'll click Make It. I'm selecting a mat, and I'll go ahead, click Next. Just wait for it to sort itself out. I'm clicking Premium Vinyl, and I'm not touching the default or anything because it is going to cut twice. So I'll go ahead and load my mat. Once it's done its check, I will click Go, and off it will go. Okay, I've got a little bit of lifting, but we'll see if it's all right. I'll unload. I'll just move that to the back. Okay, excuse me, just taking out a craft knife and just going to remove the excess. And we'll see if it's cut through. That looks like it's cut okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and weed all the interior pieces out, and then I'll be back. Use my proper weeding tool instead of that. which is here. So I'm going to go ahead and weed those off camera and then we'll be back. Okay, so they're cut out now, and I'm going to need to try and stick them to my silicone mould, which, as we know, silicone does not like things sticking to it. That's why we use it as moulds. So they're not going to bond very well, but they'll be enough. I'm going to use this masking tape transfer tape because it's not as strong. I mean, the Cricut tape is too strong and holds on to your decals too well, and most of the clear tapes also I find are just too strong. So I'm just going to try and transfer at least 2 of my images. Okay, and I'm going to want to, whoops, actually, I think it'll be easier to transfer them separately because I've just realised that this needs to be on this side. So I have reversed my images. You need to make sure that you reverse or mirror your images. And as these are each individual letter, excuse me, or represent an individual letter, they have to be, each one needs to be reversed. So I'm going to roll back, try and hold my sticker down, and roll the tape back on itself, which helps to release the sticker onto the surface. Just smooth it down. Now that should be enough to hold it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest. So this represents the E. We can almost pick these up because they are quite simplified and place them individually anyway. So we have a W and an E. Let's see if I can do it without the tape. Not quite straight. That's the N. That's our D. Now this I think I will. Try and position those in the middle. Yep, okay, I'm happy with that. So just make sure that they are stuck down as much as you can get them. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix up my aqua cast ready for pouring. Right, so I'm going to mix up some aqua cast, which is 35 grams of water to every 100 grams of powder. So I think I'm going to do 200 grams of powder, so I'm going to want 70. Just put the lid on that. say 70. And then I'm going to weigh my powder. So, I buy it in a big tub, so I've just put it into another little pot. So I want 200 grams of the powder. Okay. And now I can mix that into my water. But before I do, I want to try and make a sort of plaster colour, a browny colour. So, I don't know if this is actually open. So I'm going to try and put a couple of drops of red. I don't want to put too much in. I don't want it a deep brown, I just want a kind of sandy plaster colour. Oops. So I've got about 2 drops of each. We'll see how that goes. Let's just get a stirring stick. It is browny, but it's really red. So I'm going to add a little bit more green. 2 drops. Yep, that looks pretty muddy. Hopefully it will be enough colour, we'll see. Alright, let's add the powder. Oops. Mix it up well to get rid of any lumps. Right, I have it mixed up. It looks like a pretty good plaster colour, so I'm just going to pour it now. Just encourage it to go down the edges. Okay, I've just got a it was a fibre brush, just a micro brush. Just pulled the end off. So I'm just going to make sure that there are no bubbles stuck along the the right angle edges of the tray. Just on the inside edge and the outside edge. I'll tap it and then I will continue to fill it. Looks like we've got a bit of separation of colour, or I didn't mix it in properly. Okay, just tap it, make sure it levels and flattens. Got a few bubbles on the back, so I'm just going to encourage those to pop. And you can see the colour sort of separating around the edge, but we'll see how that goes at the end. I don't really mind that. I think it will add to the texture. So now we just need to leave it to harden. I'm going to leave it for probably about a couple of hours. Okay, it should be set now, so I'll just demold it. Okay. Now I need to just get my pokey tool, and I'm going to want to remove these little vinyl stickers. I'm just going to try and get my and you can see it gives you a really nice engraved or etched look to your mould, which is fully customizable. I'm just going to remove all of these. That's how it looks. So I'm going to infill these with paint, but I need to leave this to completely dry before I do that. So I shall pop that on a cake rack to dry, and then we'll be back when it's finished. Okay, so it's been drying for a while now, and I'm going to use these acrylic markers. They're paint markers. They've got a pretty fine nib. So let me just grab one and show you. It's not too thick. So what I'm going to do now is paint inside the etching. Just shake the marker. And then I'm just going to literally colour in where the etched places are. Pretty much just following the lines. So I'm going to make sure that that dries completely. I might add a touch of gold flakes or something just to perk up the colours so they're not all quite so samey. But once that's all completely dry, I am going to give it a coat of wax. I don't want to coat it with resin, put anything over the surface. I want to keep the idea of the etching. But you can see looks lovely infilled in colours. So I'll be back once that's all completely dry. When a cartouche is written, it ends up with a line across the bottom or the side if the name is too long enough, and along the bottom. And the line signifies the ending of the name, which is within the cartouche itself. So I thought what I could do is, I've got this mould which is supposed to be poured like this to give you an oval pot, but I'm thinking if I pour in this section, that will give me a little stand that I can use as the line, and also just a little plinth to stand this up. So I'm going to give that a go and see if that will work. I'll mix up a very small amount of aquacast and pour it in the bottom and let it set. So I'll be back once I've mixed that up. Okay, so I've mixed up just 50 grams of powder with 17 grams of water. And I'm going to leave it white because I think I'll probably paint it gold. So I'm just going to pour that. And I'm using the middle of the mould, and that's way too much. I didn't even need that much probably. Let's just tap that up and down. Let's see how far up that goes. Maybe make it a little thicker. Now I might use all of it and just see. Give me a nice solid base. So this is not the way you would normally pour this mould, obviously. So it's an alternate use for it. Okay, I'm going to let that set up and I'll be back. Okay, because it's been here for a lot longer than the time that I really needed to leave it to set. So I'm just going to try and pop it out. There you go. So here we have our little plaque, and I'm going to want to sand the edge of this just so that I can have it stand up, and I'll just glue it on. So I'm going to take some sandpaper, and this is the wet dry sandpaper, but I'm going to put some water on it, and I'm just going to try and hold this upright and sand. I don't need to take too much off, I just need to create a flatter base that I can have a little bit more surface area to stick to the glue. Right, I think I'm probably going to call that. It doesn't want to stand, but it's possible this isn't completely flat either. So I think if I prop that up once I've glued it, I think it will be fine. So again, a quick clean up. I'm going to be using the B7000 glue again. and I need to try and find something that I can prop this up with. Right, I think I've got a way of propping that up now. So I'm just going to put the glue on the bottom, and again it's a good chunk of glue. And then I'm going to set that down. I'll just hold it steady for a few minutes, and then I'm going to try and make sure it's centered, and just putting a file under it to, and I'm just going to pop a couple of bottles, or a bottle. I might get my resin bottles. I'm just going to put my resin bottles either side of it. Sorry, it's a little off center. Let's see if I can move that over a little bit. But I'm basically just going to leave that now to sit and let the glue set. And we'll be back. Okay, so I've finished, it's glued, it's stuck. I'm just gonna mask off this base because I want to paint that gold later, but I'm going to be putting some wax on the top part first. So I'm just going to see if I can mask this off. I've just got some frog tape. You know, any painter's tape that will stick, but I just like this one. So I'm just going to block off the plinth. Tiny bit more. Okay, that will do. Now, I'm going to use this wax. It's Gleam Stone Polish. It is for countertops. This is a non-greasy, food-safe wax. Not that I'm planning on using this for any kind of food preparation, but you can. So I'm just gonna get a little bit on this scrap of cloth, and then I'm going to apply the wax to the surface. You can see it brings out the colours. You just want to get a coating on for now. Then we'll let it sit for a bit, and then we're going to buff it off. So I'm just going to go ahead and coat this. Try and make sure I actually get into the etchings as well. So I'm just going to continue to do that, and then I will be back. Okay, so I'm just using a microfiber cloth to rub now and buff the wax off. and giving it a good rub. And it'll give it a bit of a sheen, but it won't look shiny. That's not what I want for this. It also helps to protect the paintwork and the piece itself. You can feel that the cloth glides over the surface a lot easier once you've worked the wax in. At first it feels quite sticky. I don't know if you can see there's a bit of a sheen there. So I'm just going to carry on and do that, and then once that's done we'll get to painting the plinth. Okay, so I've got some gold acrylic paint. And I'm just going to paint the plinth, and it's probably going to need a couple of coats. Definitely going to need a couple of coats. Right, I'm going to leave that to dry. Okay, so I've done 3 coats. It's not done a bad job. But I'm going to see if I can put a little bit of this gilding wax by Pebeo. Just going to use well, it's like an eyeshadow brush. So I'm going to leave it now just to set for a little bit, and I'll buff it. So although I've made a cartouche, the same technique can be applied in different ways. So here I've made a coaster, a monogrammed coaster, which I've infilled with gold, and I've put some felt on the back. And there's another coaster. It's the constellation of Gemini, again infilled with gold, and it's the same technique that I used with the cartouche, so it's highly adaptable. And these were just plain moulds. I stuck the decals down, poured the aquacast over the top, and it gave me this wonderful indentation to infill afterwards. So I hope you've liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, maybe comment what would you place on the inside of a mould. Hope you will come back again soon. Thanks, bye.